Pro-Palestinian protesters disrupted a remembrance march to honour the victims of Nazi atrocities at the site of the Auschwitz concentration camp. Demonstrators chanted slogans and displayed Palestinian banners and flags reading "Stop Genocide." And some even wore yellow badges in the shape of stars, which appeared to resemble those that the Nazi authorities forced Jews to wear shortly after the German invasion of Poland in 1939. An astonishing story. And now to speak with the chief executive of the Campaign Against Anti-Semitism, Gideon Falter. Gideon, welcome to the show. I cannot imagine how appalling this must be as a Jewish person. Where do you begin? What do you say to this?
I mean, Martin, you're absolutely right. I mean, we are still in living memory of the Holocaust, and there would have been, and there were, Holocaust survivors on that march. The March of the Living is something that takes place every year on Yom HaShoah, which is a Holocaust Memorial Day marked by Jews around the world. And on that march, you simply walk through the death camp, through Auschwitz, and you say defiantly, "We are still alive. We have not perished. We will continue to live even long after the Nazi regime is gone." And you remember what took place on that site where so many people were killed as part of the Nazi extermination of over 6 million Jewish men, women and children, and many others. And for protesters to come along and protest against that, you've got to ask, what were they protesting against? If they oppose the March of the Living, what must they be saying? They must be saying, one assumes, that they have some kind of a problem with the fact that Jews are doing this, with the fact that Jews have survived and are continuing in this way. And you just wonder what on earth was going through their minds when they not only decided to go to this thing, but they decided to go and start wearing yellow stars. And imagine what Holocaust survivors were thinking, having lived long enough to see the site that they were liberated from by Allied troops, finding that now there are people there protesting, almost using the Holocaust as a weapon with which to beat Jews. It's horrific, absolutely horrific.
And Gideon, I have a comment here from a Canadian living in London who attended that march, a Jules Calman, who said it really shows that they're here to continue what Hitler set out to do, that Hamas stands on the shoulders of the Nazi regime. We will never let that happen. Gideon, this is sacred ground, a sacrosanct moment to address the evils of history, to ensure that it never happens again. Why, oh why would they choose to target something so sensitively? Do you think it may be grotesquely deliberate?
I mean, it can only be deliberate. You don't go to Auschwitz for any other reason than that it was Auschwitz. It was the site of this death camp. And for these people to turn up, not only in living memory of the Holocaust, but let's not forget, we're only a few months now since October 7th, when genocidal Hamas terrorists went and committed the worst massacre of Jews in living memory since the Holocaust. And those people then turned up, these protesters have turned up in order to sort of goad the Jews on the march. And I think it's the inevitable conclusion of two things, really. One is that for a number of years now, people have been trying to universalize Holocaust remembrance. You may remember Jeremy Corbyn tried signing an early day motion in Parliament to change Holocaust Memorial Day to Genocide Memorial Day. There's this constant attempt to sort of universalize the Holocaust, to take its lessons, to take it essentially and say it's not just Jews. But the Holocaust was very much about the obliteration and the annihilation of the Jewish people. So that's one thing. The other thing that's happening, of course, is this very deliberate attempt by people in pro-Palestinian circles to try to say that Jews are in fact the successors of the Nazis, that the Israelis are the new Nazis, that Israel is committing some kind of a genocide. All of this language is very deliberate. It's designed to invert the lessons of the Holocaust. And so when we say as a society, the big lesson from the Holocaust was never again, how can we say that we are learning that lesson when we have not only allowed this sort of universalization of the Holocaust, when we've not only allowed Israel to be equated with Nazis, but we now actually have people in the grounds of Auschwitz protesting against the March of the Living as Holocaust survivors march to remember what happened there. It's horrendous.
Certainly is. Gideon Falter, the Chief Executive of the Campaign Against Anti-Semitism, thank you so much for sharing those thoughts with us here on GB News.